On December 14th, Andrew Tate confronted Jake Paul on the streets in an unexpected encounter that quickly turned intense. Jake, known for his big talk and knack for grabbing the spotlight, might have thought he could keep things light with some trash talk. But this wasn't the ring. There were no cameras rolling for a hype reel, no WWE-style promo. It was raw and unfiltered. Andrew Tate, cool and composed as ever, approached Jake with a clear...
Champions of the past, we have world champions of the present. Marissa Shields in the building.
Jake Paul, it's clear to me you are desperate for a reality check. You know what? If I made my money impressing 4-year-olds on YouTube and managed to somehow become a multimillionaire from it, I'd probably live in a dream world too. But let me explain something to you about combat sports. There are a whole bunch of men out here who will never be as famous as you, will never make the money you've made, who would kick the living fuck out of you.
Intent. He wasn't there to trade insults or engage in a verbal sparring match. This was about sending a message. Jake's usual bravado seemed to falter for a moment as reality hit. This wasn't some staged event or YouTube skit.
The biggest clown on the fucking internet. If you want to fight and you want to send a contract, send one to me. I will take a few weeks break from living my retired life to kick the living fuck out of a fucking goofy, fucking entitled dickhead like you. You know my name, Andrew Tate.
Tate's sheer physical presence was enough to make Jake realize he was dealing with something far more real. Though no punches were thrown, the tension was palpable. In that brief moment, you could almost see Jake's confidence slip as it dawned on him. Tate was...
Whatever conditions you want. 2 brothers, 1 cage. Jake, Logan, you, Tristan. Who comes out alive?
You know what? I'm trying so hard to not start internet beefs. I'm really trying not to.
You could say Jake and Logan, man.
Bro,
don't worry about it.
No, I can't lie. Bro, I'm going through life. I'm trying to live peaceful now.
Playing. The tension between these two has been brewing for a while. This isn't just social media drama or a typical clash of egos. For both Jake and Andrew, it's personal. An ongoing battle of pride between 2 men who thrive on being the center of attention. And on this occasion, it was clear Andrew Tate wasn't letting Jake Paul walk away unscathed, even without a physical blow. For Jake Paul and Andrew Tate, attention has always been their currency. But sometimes... the spotlight burns too bright, and that's when things erupt. Andrew Tate, sitting comfortably on a $710 million fortune, doesn't need more money. What's at stake for him is respect. And that's where this story begins. The tension started when Jake Paul, after boxing a string of lower-tier fighters, and no, we're not diving into whether they were legit challenges, began name-dropping some major figures for his next fight. One name in particular stood out: Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson is a legend, a heavyweight champion whose name commands respect. Calling him out isn't something you do lightly. You're either incredibly confident or just naive enough to think you stand a chance. For Jake, it was all about spectacle. He wasn't just looking for a fight. He wanted the fight that would catapult him further into fame while raking in millions in ticket sales and pay-per-views. And what better way to do that than to challenge an icon like Tyson? But there was a problem. Tyson, a man who's been through the highs and lows of the sport, wasn't interested in Jake's circus act. He saw it for what it was, a publicity stunt. So naturally, Tyson declined, leaving Jake scrambling for a new target. 3 weeks ago, a commenter predicted that Andrew Tate would knock Jake into next year. It seems Jake has found someone willing to step into the chaos. Jake Key. When Jake Paul found himself without a worthy opponent, Andrew Tate saw the perfect opportunity. Jake wasn't just calling out legends, he was avoiding real competition. For Tate, that was all the motivation he needed. Known for exposing what he sees as fake toughness, Tate decided it was time to step in. Tate, an accomplished kickboxer with multiple championships, has built a reputation as a no-nonsense kind of guy. He's never shied away from speaking his mind or challenging others. And Jake...
Yeah, he'll never do that, though. He knows. He knows way.
One, he's under contract. And two,
he's not his own boss.
And 2, he won't do it. He knows better. He might
and it's
say,
funny to say, like, yo, Conor McGregor is scared of Jake Paul and will never...
fight narrative was practically begging for his involvement. But previously, he saw exercise as seldom being used to help people with their depression. So Tate did what anyone with his ego and combat history would do. He called Jake out. And this wasn't a subtle challenge. Tate wasn't interested in a casual sparring match or a charity fight like Jake's other opponents. This was about two things: serious money and respect. Sitting comfortably on a $710 million fortune, Tate didn't need fame. He already had that. For him, this was about making a statement. Jake Paul's antics finally met their match, and Tate wasn't about to let the opportunity pass him by.
I'm one of the lucky ones. I made a little bit of money. I don't have 50 million to bet with you, but I do have 3 million to bet with you. So this is your offer. $3 million. You put 3, I put 3. Winner takes all. I'm 5 years out the ring. I'm a kickball.
Andrew Tate wasn't struggling for money, but he had a point to prove. Jake Paul, the self-proclaimed boxing sensation, was out here picking fights with legends while dodging real competition. For Tate, this wasn't about adding another win to his record. It was about putting Jake in his place. Tate wanted to show the world that he, not Jake, was the one with real fighting experience. He had earned his reputation in combat sports, while Jake built his on spectacle. This fight wasn't about money or fame for Tate. It was about proving the difference between talk and action. And how much was this clash worth? Just a casual $50 million. Imagine that. In what?
But let's say he would call you to fight. Would you take it?
Yeah, I mean, Jake and I actually talk. He's an all right guy. There was a time we were talking about fighting each other, and I think if this arrest didn't happen, it probably would have come to fruition. We'll see what happens in the future.
One corner, Jake Paul, the social media mogul making millions from boxing exhibition matches. In the other, Andrew Tate, a decorated kickboxing champion with millions of fans and an even bigger fortune. Tate wasn't just any contender, he was a seasoned fighter. This wasn't going to be another flashy show. It was a battle to remind the world what real combat looked like. Andrew Tate had been sharpening his skills long before Jake Paul even considered stepping into a boxing ring. For Tate, this wasn't about cashing in on a flashy spectacle. It was about proving who the real fighter was. With a staggering net worth of $710 million, Tate could have chosen any fight, or simply retired in luxury. But for him, this was personal. Now let's talk about Jake Paul for a moment. Because, well, he's Jake Paul. And if there's one thing you can always count on with Jake, it's that he'll never back down quietly. After Andrew Tate's call-out, Jake didn't retreat. Instead, he did what he does best: talk trash. Jake couldn't resist taking shots at Tate, questioning his fighting credentials and tossing out insults like it was second nature. Andrew Tate's just a washed-up fighter trying to stay relevant, Jake said during one of his many Instagram rants. This guy's nothing but an internet personality. I'm the future of boxing, and I'm gonna crush him. Classic Jake Paul, full of bravado and dismissiveness. He'd pulled the same move before, calling other fighters washed up when they didn't immediately cave to his demands. We always wanted to be someone who was something different, said Paul, leaning pests wiping off. But was it a smart move this time? Probably not. Andrew Tate isn't the type to let words slide. Jake's usual antics might work on lesser opponents, but Tate's track record proves he's not one to sit back and stay silent when provoked. This was going to get real. When it comes to defending his reputation, Andrew Tate knows how to make a statement. With his combat sports experience, he isn't the type to let trash talk slide. But Jake Paul, in true form, couldn't help himself. The more he talked, the more he dug his own hole. Tate, keeping his composure, dared Jake to settle things in the ring.
He does tend to keep those guards down, but he's comfy at that point.
Meanwhile, Jake's Twitter fingers went into overdrive, firing back insult after insult. What happened next? Things escalated quickly, and Jake was about to learn a hard lesson. You don't trash talk Andrew Tate without expecting consequences. Enter Floyd Mayweather, the undefeated king of boxing. Watching from the sidelines, Floyd took note of Jake's antics, and he wasn't impressed. After Jake rejected Tate's challenge like it was an overdue tax bill, Floyd stepped in with some scathing criticism. Mayweather didn't hold back, calling Jake out as a cherry picker who only fights opponents he knows he can beat. He accused Jake of avoiding real competition and curating fights that are more about building a flashy highlight reel than proving himself as a serious boxer. And honestly, Floyd wasn't wrong. Jake Paul, who's always shouting about fighting anyone, anywhere, anytime, seems to forget that offer doesn't apply to fighters who could knock his ego to some degree before reaching that final limit. And him, flat on the mat. Floyd's words cut deep, leaving Jake with more to think about than just his next Instagram post. The scuffle didn't last long. It didn't need to. The point was made. Jake Paul, the brash and cocky social media star who had spent years running his mouth, finally came face to face with someone who wasn't afraid to shut him up. And that's exactly what happened. News of the confrontation spread like wildfire, with headlines blaring, "Andrew Tate attacks Jake Paul." The internet erupted, turning the moment into a viral sensation. But here's the thing. Andrew Tate wasn't out to ruin Jake Paul. He didn't need to. Tate already had everything that mattered: respect, experience, and a proven name in combat sports. Jake Paul, on the other hand, learned a hard lesson that day. There are consequences when you mess with the wrong person. This wasn't just another celebrity clash for clicks. It was a statement. For Jake, the takeaway was clear. Respect isn't something you gain by talking. It's something you earn. And the next time he thinks about throwing out insults, he might want to think twice. Because when someone like Andrew Tate is involved, that false sense of confidence can crumble faster than a poorly built house of cards.